welcome to the Draft Social Media Podcast. It's what social media managers are talking about. I'm Chloe, and today I'm joined by Katie and Ellie.
Hi.
Hi.
Coming up on this week's episode, we'll be discussing the return of Tiger King to our screens, how to track, understand, and use your Instagram insights, along with the new stats from TikTok showcasing why people enjoy the app. Make sure you stick around to the end of the show where we'll be discussing some of your burning DMs. Before we kick things off today, ladies, how are we all feeling this afternoon? It's a gloomy Monday. I was just saying to you both off air that I haven't heard from anyone on the team for a few days. So, how are you guys? How's your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, went home to see some family. That was nice, but it meant that when I got back to my flat last night that it was freezing because we hadn't had the heating on the whole weekend, and it's even worse that like the flat below us hasn't had their heating on either.
Right, when you're like,
so it's like we haven't even stolen their heat.
I'm a second floor flat as well, and I'm just like relying on the people above and the people below to just like get their heating to me so I can just hold off as long as possible. But my flat has been surprisingly warm. I don't know, it's been good.
Oh, so lucky.
What about you, Ellie? I saw you got up to something fun on the weekend.
Yeah, I went to Longleat Safari Park. We went and did the safari, and I went through with the monkeys with my car, and I was honestly terrified that my car was going to get ripped to shreds. We watched like a car behind us have monkeys like swinging off the front of their car trying to rip their number plate off. And I was I was really panicking. I think the only thing that I've a monkey pulled something like a really tiny thing off the back of my car. I think it's the reflector on the back of my car. So need to buy myself one of those. But apart from that, I had a great time and went and saw the Christmas lights, which was lovely. Oh. Yeah, it was really sweet.
What an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Like animals and fairy lights. What a great combo.
I mean,
honestly, Longleat at Christmas. Magical.
It was really lovely. I mean, I must admit, I say that I thought that we were going to get attacked by the tiger. It honestly came up past my car, went behind, and I was like, it's gonna go for the car. The ranger like revved his car right behind us to like scare it away. He was definitely gonna pounce. I am certain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
I did not know they had tigers.
Honestly, highly recommend.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Highly recommend you go. It was.
That is crazy.
Oh my god, can we do a giraffe trip?
Yeah, let's. That's a great idea. Let's pop it in the notice box as the suggestion of the month.
They've got like 2-3 giraffes there. It counts.
Yeah, it's purely for business purposes, all for research. Well, speaking of tigers and monkeys, thank God, Ellie, because this is a perfect segue for our coffee break segment of the episode, and that is that it's been over a year since the world became completely obsessed with the Netflix original Tiger King. Joe Exotic and Carol Baskin were the distraction we all needed from the weirdness of a global pandemic. I think Tiger King came out in March 2020, and that is, of course, when the world kind of just went to shambles. So it's been over a year now. But not only that, the meme-worthy content that ensued after just like took the internet by storm, and it felt like most social media managers in particular just couldn't escape Tiger King mania. It was crazy. So their new season is out. I don't know, have you guys tuned in? Or if not, what have been some of your favourite Tiger King moments over the past 18 months?
So, like, I actually haven't had much chance to watch it yet. I feel like I need to sit down and watch it when I'm, like, in a good frame of mind, because they're all, like, undeniably terrible people. We can all agree on that, right? So it's like, I want to be in the right headspace and be like, yes, no, I can deal with them right now. But, like, I don't know if you guys saw, and I don't know if this is part of the series, so maybe spoilers, but it's unintentional spoilers because I haven't seen it. But apparently Carol Baskin is saying her husband isn't dead. I know. Apparently, she got a letter from the CIA saying that her husband is alive and well in Costa Rica or somewhere, but she will not show anyone this letter. It's like...
Interesting.
It's like, my husband's alive, take my word for it.
Yeah, well, she's been telling us her husband's alive or at least that she had nothing to do with his disappearance for yonks. So I'm not surprised by how weird that she would bring it up and then not show anyone the evidence. Good old Carol.
But maybe, like, you know, it's difficult to send a letter from, like, inside a tiger.
Buried 6 feet underground. Oh dear. Ellie, did you get a chance to watch it over the weekend?
I can't say I have yet. However, it is on my list of things to watch. I feel like I'm going to have to watch the first series again, just to bring myself up to speed, because I don't know about you, but like throughout the whole thing, I was so confused. Like there was so much going on all the time, and I feel like the second series is going to be exactly the same. But I'm excited to see what's going on. And yeah, we'll see. How about you, Chloe? Have you had a chance yet?
I too have not, which the listeners may think, what a pointless segment if none of you have watched it. But it is on my list. Is it on my list? I'm not sure. I think I watched it last year because everyone was like, you have to watch this. But I'm the same, Ellie. I remember watching it and I was just a bit like, oh, like, this is a bit weird. I'm not sure that I rate it that much. So I also feel like they kind of, I don't really remember, it's almost over a year ago now, but I feel like they kind of, like, Joe Exotic's in jail, Carol's doing her own thing, like, she wasn't really part of the Joe Exotic empire anyway. Then, like, the boyfriends have kind of moved on, so I'm not sure, I'm interested to see where they go from it, but everyone, my whole family, is messaging me, letting me know that it's out, so I feel like maybe tonight will be the night. I've just finished watching whatever series I was just watching, so yeah, maybe I'll tuck in.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, that they're, like, obviously Netflix is going to try and, like, milk it for all it's worth, but it's like, even, I don't know if it was like a month or two after, like, the first series got released, or the first season got released, like, they did, like, a follow-up episode that was hosted by the guy from Community. And it was really weird because it was all held over Zoom as well. Yeah, and like no one seemed to like care.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe that's why we're not seeing like a huge amount about the latest one, because like it's a year later. The hype's kind of.
I think
we've milked the memes for all their worth.
I feel like for Tiger King, I feel like the reason it went like it was so successful was because it was like when we all just went into lockdown. So what else was there to do but to watch this funky new documentary that's come out that is funny, weird, confusing, all of the above, all in one. Like, it was the best distraction. I don't know whether you guys agree.
And now we're like different people in a different world.
Yeah.
It's like, are we still in a world where Tiger King is like the centre of our society?
I agree. I think
like, think how much we've gone through since then. Like, everything was cake for like a few months.
yeah. What a weird time, hey? Well, maybe next episode we'll do a follow-up and we can all review if we've seen it or not. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Moving on to our main segment of this week's episode, we are going to be doing a deep dive into Instagram insights, how to track them, how to understand them, and how to use them to your advantage. With Black Friday and Christmas both around the corner, I thought it would be the perfect opportunity for us and the listeners to learn how to take full advantage of these features. So Instagram analytics can help you target the right audience, improve your content strategy, and reach new audiences as well. So it's super useful for any business owner, social media manager to kind of get the hang of. But learning all the different Instagram metrics and terms and how to use the data for growth is just such a mammoth task. So the girls and I are going to do our best to break it down for you all today. I guess the best place to start, guys, is what metrics are available on Instagram Insights? Like, what's there for us?
So, like, Instagram, I've always said, like, Instagram analytics and metrics are, like, they're the best ones on social media. Like, they're the easiest ones to find and they are the most understandable. Whereas you've got things like TikTok, and I don't feel like theirs are as easy to find. But, you know, you've got things like engagement and impressions, and then it, like, breaks it down from there. And I feel like sometimes impressions can be a really, like, good metric to understand like how your content's actually doing, because if you've got really high impressions and then really low engagement, that shows you've got an audience but they're not liking, they're not commenting, you're not like tapping into them 100% just yet. So I felt like that might be one of the best ways to like build your strategy off of, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then like as well, my favorite feature from Instagram, like with their analytics and metrics, is their it's hard to describe, but it's when you like organize your posts by like your top performing posts.
Yes.
And then you get like a nice little like from the past like 6 months or 3 months or even like week, I think you can like narrow it down to. And it's like a really good way to like kind of fine tune like the posts that are getting the most engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can break that down to work out, you know, what's getting like more general engagement, like, you know, like getting like plenty of likes and comments, whereas some posts might just be getting likes or comments, you know, like giveaway posts, like we all know they all perform really well. So they will probably end up in your like top posts, but the engagement in those aren't probably going to be as worthwhile as like some of your more general posts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because Instagram Insights is like super useful, but I think sometimes, especially when you kind of first take a look at it, it's so confusing because
Oh yeah.
I guess the big three, if you will, you've got engagement, you've got reach, and then you've also got impressions, which when you're kind of taking a look, you're like, okay, don't these all mean the same thing? Like, where is it differentiating? Why are the numbers different on each sort of metric? So a good place to start, I guess, is to break those down a bit. So engagement, obviously, that is the number of users that have, you know, liked, commented, saved, or shared your post on Instagram, which that's kind of like the main one that everyone's looking at, right? Like if you're not obsessed with your following, which you shouldn't be, you definitely should be looking at your engagement because, as Katie just said, that's such an awesome indicator on how well you know your audience and how well you're really nailing that content in regards to what your audience wants to see. So you're right, like if you've got a big follower number and a small engagement number, obviously that is a whole other story, but maybe something you can look at is, okay, obviously this content probably isn't resonating with my audience, so how can I adapt that? And then we've got reach, which, as Katie mentioned, that is the number of users that see your content, and that's maybe through hashtags, that's maybe through the explore page, maybe someone they know shared your content, and so reach is also a really good indicator in terms of looking at maybe how well your hashtag strategy is working, because again, in Instagram analytics, it kind of breaks down how many users have come from the homepage, how many people have come from hashtags, and how many people have come from the explore page, for example. And then finally you have impressions, which I am constantly getting confused over the difference between reach and impressions, but I think the main difference basically is impressions is how many times your content has been viewed. So reach is how many users and impressions is how many times. So one user your post might pop up on the same person's feed like 3 times throughout the night, but if they didn't like it and they didn't engage with it, then that's kind of where the difference between the 3 are. So super, super interesting between the 3, but what do you guys think is, I know engagement is like the big one, but what do you guys think is most important when it comes to looking at those metrics?
I think you do kind of just have to look at them all really, and that does help you build your strategy, because I mean you can be getting really good like reach or really good impressions, but like if you're not getting the engagement, like I want to know how you're getting the good reach and impressions if you're not getting engagement. But yeah, it's kind of like you can't just take just one, you kind of can take them all, and as you're saying, like they are really, really detailed, so you can kind of work out what you're lacking in one and kind of try and build that up, I guess.
I think it's also really important to look at what you're trying to achieve as a brand, because, you know, it may not matter how many people you're reaching, because if you already have a following, for example, the amount of people that you're reaching externally to grow your brand, that may not be your mission. Therefore, the engagement and impressions would be more important to you, such as the engagement with your following that you already have. So that's definitely something to bear in mind when you're looking at Instagram Insights or any sort of analytics tool, just to guide you forward in achieving exactly what you want to achieve.
Yeah, totally. And like you were saying, like, you know, having a goal for your strategy alone, like that's the best way to work out like what you're actually going to do with your analytics. Otherwise you've got a load of data that you just don't know what to do with or how to make use of it.
Definitely.
And I think one of the cool things, I can't remember if it's on just stories or just posts on Instagram, but as part of your analytics, it kind of tells you where they go afterwards, as in like if the people viewing it are going to your page, which means that they're then like maybe giving you a follow, they're maybe looking through the rest of your content, so you're just creating like an even more engaged audience that way, and you know that that's the sort of content that does.
Yeah, I think IGD, can't speak, I think IGTV also has that feature as well, and they are my favourite insights to look at, purely because, you know, stories and IGTVs can sometimes be the most engaging posts for people to click on. You know, they're maybe more inclined to engage in that than a feed post, for example. But it's really like interesting to see whether, you know, they have gone to your page or they have gone to your website following on from that. So yeah, they're definitely my favourite ones to see if they're actually working or not. And if they're not, then you definitely need to start reevaluating what you're doing and working to try and increase your engagement that way.
Looking at kind of the bigger picture as well, Instagram this year, it was a little while ago now, so it's not exactly a new update, but they introduced the 7-day, 30-day, 60-day feature, which is such a killer metric for your strategy going forward. At Giraffe, we kind of have a monthly social media audit meeting, and we review all of our social media platforms, and Lucky Me gets to audit the Instagram, which I feel like just, it gives you so much rich data. And yeah, like we look at the past 30 days or 60 days even, so we can compare month on month. Okay, what content was getting the most engagement? What content was getting the most reach? Take a look at the hashtags that we were using. And then we kind of use that to inform the month ahead. And I think this is it's not underrated because it's kind of like step one, right? It's like social media management for dummies. But I just think people get so scared of Instagram analytics because it is a bit like there's so much information there, and every piece of information you get, it takes you into more information, and there's different types. Like you've got your audience metrics that shows you where people are from, how old they are.
Oh, I love that.
Which is super, super interesting, but also it's very dependent on what you're trying to achieve, right? And then one of the ones I love is you can see your followers that are coming in for that month. You can see the followers who went out, so the people who unfollowed you, and then it shows you like your overall engagement, which is like, not overall engagement, sorry, your overall follower growth, which really is depressing. Since it came in, I check it all the time, and it's like, yeah, you gained 100 followers, but you lost 75, so you only gained like 15. I'm like, brilliant.
I love like the follower information that they give you as well on Instagram. Like it even breaks it down to like gender, and then it breaks it down to like, even down to like when they're most online, and like, you know, you kind of have to get like that immediate engagement to start with on Instagram, otherwise you'll kind of just flop. Because that's just the way of the app. But like if you know when your followers are going to be most active, you know, they are your current audience, although you're going to be outreaching to other people to bring them into your audience, you know, they're likely going to be online at the similar times as well.
I think that one's awesome as well, because we all know like the age-old algorithm myth is that you should be like interacting with your followers like 30 minutes to 10 minutes before you upload, and then 10 to 30 minutes after. So knowing what time they're most active, I think people are like, oh great, I'm going to post then, but it's like you should actually post, you know, a little bit before then, or you should jump on and start interacting with your audience before then, and then go and upload, and then you can share. So yeah, super cool stuff.
I think something that people forget is that like your social media strategy doesn't just extend to your feed, it can also extend to like your stories. And although they're only up for like 24 hours, like the Instagram like insights provide you like so much information about them still, even down to like whether people are leaving them, which like, you know, if you're checking that and, for example, your audience has like a high average exit rate after like the third post in a row that you put up, like on your story, maybe it's time to like rethink like this content you're putting on your story, whether you just like do less or you carry on trying to do more, but you try and change up the way that you're like hooking your audience at the beginning to try and maintain that engagement. I think even though they like disappear after 24 hours, like it's still a lot of like thought that needs to go behind that.
I mean, I often find myself going on like fashion inspiration pages, or like where they have like links to items of clothing and they'll show them and then you can click on them. So if that's kind of your niche, your area, stories are going to be like your best friend in terms of seeing the insights, because that's probably where you're going to get the most engagement from your followers in terms of clicking the link or exiting off, or, you know, finding that happy balance of what your followers engage with and, you know, what's too much.
Yeah, so I think it's very hard to kind of summarize and break down all the details and the ins and outs of insights on an audio platform, because obviously we would love to show you how to use it, but instead we are simply telling you. So hopefully you guys found that useful. But I guess the main takeaway is that being able to compare and contrast what type of content is performing really well, who's following and unfollowing you, and where you're getting the most reach, and what strategies are you putting into play that are becoming really successful, super beneficial to your brand. So if you don't know how to use insights, or you've never kind of looked into them before, we highly recommend it. Even if it's just on a monthly basis, like checking it every week is obviously not going to be super useful. It's probably going to do a bit more damage to you and confuse you more than it should, but check in on a monthly basis and see how you can inform your strategy. This week we asked our listeners over on Instagram to send in their DMs around Instagram insights, and I thought this one was a little bit of fun, ladies. It reads, if there was one analytics feature or tool that you could add to Instagram, what would it be and why?
That's a really hard one. I've never thought about that.
Because they've just got so many. I tell you what, this might be a bit of a cheap answer because they've like recently taken it away because of like EU stuff. I don't know. I don't really understand. But when you used to like go into your like on like individual posts, you used to be able to find out whether they'd been like sent or shared. Exactly. And they don't have that anymore, and it really makes me upset.
It's interesting because I do follow some influencers from the UK, and they can still access it because they often share. They go, oh, like, thank you guys so much for sharing, and then they take pictures of like people who have shared. So I don't know. I don't have access to it either. Maybe there's a magical trick you can do.
Maybe there's something we don't know. Maybe that we need to like make some sort of sacrifice.
I know some of the accounts that I am managing at the moment still have the share feature. So I don't know whether it's for someone who's updated the app, or I don't know, they're trialing it. But yeah, I mean, for some of my business accounts that I'm managing, they still have it. But that is like one of my favorite things, because then you know that it's been useful, or someone's sending something that they shouldn't to somebody else.
Yeah, it did used to weird me out, like on my like personal cosplay account. Like if I had like one thing, like one cosplay I put up, and it had like loads of shares, I'd be like, where is this going? I fear.
I think if I could have one, this kind of goes off the back of the shares thing, but I would love to see, of the people who save your content with the save button, how many of them revisit it? Because saves is such an awesome metric, because it really is like the number one indicator that someone found your content of value and of use. And I love to save outfit pictures, and then I go back and kind of recreate outfits. So I guess if you're a business or like an educator and you're putting out that type of content, it would be so interesting to see how many people come back and revisit it. I just think that would be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be so good. Why is that not already a thing?
Right?
I mean,
it kind of is, right? That's your impressions, I guess.
True.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, I definitely revisit content that I've saved. I have like different folders for different things. So
Ooh.
An organised queen.
I do try, but no, it's so
Oh, wish I could relate.
it's just one of those things. Like, I like that feature of Instagram. But yeah, that's definitely a really good addition that they should definitely include. I can't think of anything off the top of my head which I think I really want to add. Or no,
I guess that kind of shows like how good it is already.
yeah, I mean, nothing that comes to mind that I think is feasible that they could actually do. Like, they can't tell me why someone's unfollowed me, or like, or actually, that's a good point. Like, if the amount of people that have unfollowed you following you uploading a certain piece of content, that would be really interesting. So if a feed, a photo came up in the feed that they had seen, and then they unfollowed you following that, that would be. But then I don't think that's really feasible. I don't think they could really do that at the moment.
It would be interesting.
But
though.
I find that really helpful for certain brands that I manage. But
yeah, I think like another potentially good feature, and I'm kind of stealing this from YouTube, is like they have a feature where it's like this percentage of your audience that are like consuming your content aren't following you. And I'm like, maybe that's more of like a YouTube thing. Maybe this isn't something that would necessarily like work on Instagram. But I think it's a really good way of like really simply understanding like whether your content is actually gaining followers or not. Because if you've got a really like big skew between like the people who are following you and the people who aren't, then I think that kind of says a lot.
I think they do have that actually.
I think it's
on your post
the
insights. So
the discover.
Not your page insights, but your post insights. See, there's so many insights on Instagram. But yeah, on your individual post, you can take a look and it shows you who's followed you because of it. And then I guess again, you can take a look at your reach compared to your engagement like ratio, and that can kind of give you a good idea. So yeah,
that's cool.
Super good stuff. Right, well, that was our top DM for this week. Hopefully, I mean, you didn't really have a specific question in mind, but hopefully you found our wish list useful, and maybe you feel the same way. So if there are any insights that you wish Instagram made available, make sure you let us know on Instagram. And if you have a burning DM for us, make sure you slide into our DMs at GiraffeSM. Now it's time to dive into our top social media news story of the week. TikTok has released a study in partnership with Nielsen to bring some light on why users appreciate TikTok in comparison to their competition. The study shows that users all around the world find TikTok content to be authentic, genuine, unfiltered, and trendsetting, which is not news to us. We've been preaching this for months. But girls, some statistics I found particularly interesting were that globally, an average of 77% of users say that TikTok is a place where they feel people can express themselves openly. 84% of TikTok users say they come across content which they can relate to. And another 77% of users said they read the comments on the posts and videos on TikTok, which I found particularly interesting because it's never really been like brought to my attention before, but it's so right. Like, once you see that relatable piece of content on TikTok, the first thing I do is check the comments, whether it's like for good reasons or for bad reasons. Every love to have a little snoop, and that's just not something that I do on Instagram. Like, I don't care. Like, people on Instagram are so fake, so the comments aren't actually they're just like, nice dress. So, but yeah, the TikTok comments are juicy, and they're almost like as good as the content itself. So I don't know, what did you guys think? Did you have a chance to check out the report?
I feel like everything that they said in the report is so true, and I feel like I could definitely upload a video of me singing along, like screaming my heart out to like one of my favourite songs, and upload it for everyone to see, and I just wouldn't care. Whereas if I was to upload that on Instagram or Facebook, that would never ever happen. Like, I'd never do that. So it's just such a great platform to really like come into your own, I think. And 100% when you were saying about how it's like tailored to you, and comes up on your feed with things that you like or like things that you're going through, and it's almost like the app knows you without knowing you. Like it's
almost a bit scary.
It's like, oh, I would have had a thought that day about something, and next thing I know, it's like, oh, if you've been going through this, you know, don't worry, we've got some handy tips. I'm like, how did they know this?
Oh, God, yeah.
So it's such a great app, and it's definitely really tailored and helps.
No, I agree. I think the YouTube and the TikTok algorithms are like 1 in a million. Like there's just no one else can even compete. They're just so like they're such mind readers.
Exactly.
And I think one of the things I love about TikTok as well, and this wasn't mentioned in the report, which I think is quite interesting, but I just love that there's kind of, you know, the concept of the For You page. And that TikTok is not about who you follow. Like, I feel like you don't really follow people specifically to watch their content, because you could follow them and then never see them again, right? Like, if you only use the For You page like I do, the chances of you seeing them again could be really slim, depending on the type of content that they put out. And I just love that. Like, I love knowing that if someone follows me, they're not really following me exclusively for that content. Like, I feel like I don't really owe them anything, which I think is super cool. But I do have to say, while I agree that I think it's 100% a platform where people can express themselves freely, there's been so many times where I've wanted to jump on a trend, like maybe like a voiceover acting challenge or something like that, where I'm still in my Instagram mindset and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want people from work to see that, or that I know in real life to see that, even though the chances are so slim, right? So I hope I get to a place one day where I can upload a really dramatic performance, but I'm not there yet.
I mean, I must admit, I do have like ones of me like singing along to the new Taylor Swift release, like ready to upload, but it's trying to get across that line of like, do I, don't I, but nah.
Totally.
See, what you need to do is be a cosplayer and have a
Yeah.
Because once you reach that point, the world's a better place.
Or one of those people that has a secret TikTok account where their username is just numbers, and then no one will ever find you. But
but no, like I completely like the report like didn't really surprise me that much, because I mean, I'm gonna sound really annoying here, but when I was doing my degree, I actually wrote a lot about I wrote my dissertation on like authenticity in digital spaces, and it's something that like for the longest time consumers just like really want authentic, or like they want perceived authenticity. It doesn't matter if it's real, it's just kind of gotta seem real, you know?
Yeah.
So, which is why, you know, we love things like YouTubers who are just like casual vloggers, you know, like a few years ago when you got people like Zoella who started in their bedroom, and I think TikTok just like really taps into that and like hasn't really let go of it yet. It hasn't become like quite as commercialized, if that makes sense. Like, you can go on there, have your fun, and then I've kind of noticed with like a lot of like TikTok celebrities, and like same with YouTube, like when you do start to lose that authenticity, people tend to drop off from you and then go back to someone who does seem more authentic. And it's just the way that consumers like things. Like, they don't want to feel like they're being lied to. They want to feel like they know the truth. And like I'm guilty of that too. Like I don't tend to like enjoy things if they feel a bit too fake, you know. Like if you're watching like a video on TikTok and it's funny, but like it feels really staged, it's like
Yeah, I
but
I agree with that. I don't like the staged like pranks or staged ads. So please, TikTok, don't become too commercialized. I like the authenticity.
And like the short form like content, because it feels like it can be so immediate. It can literally just be like a 10-second video that like a bunch of mates filmed together that's just really funny, or just like, you know, or it's like really engaging, and it's like, wow, this feels like I am part of their friendship group, which then like takes you into a whole parasocial relationship thing, and I don't have like 10,000 words to talk about this right now. But yeah, no, it's something that's like always really interested me, and I think that's why like TikTok is succeeding so well, because they are like tapping into that authenticity.
Definitely. I think overall this report from TikTok and Nielsen was just one big flex, and I'm here for it. So yeah, let us know.
We stand. We continue to stand.
We definitely do. If any of those stats surprise you though, I want to hear. Let us know, reach out, and send us your TikTok handles. We want to find you. That is all we've got time for today, though, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. If the listeners enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, or chuck us a follow if you're listening on Spotify. We would love to hear what you thought about today's episode, so make sure you reach out on social media and let us know what you thought. But until next time, we've been Giraffe Social Media. You've been amazing. We'll see you next week.